Much rain has fallen on the Mets in 2010, but the clouds have parted and October baseball has arrived. The final series of the regular season about to ensue, so come on in and enjoy the action. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Washington Nationals. Mets baseball is presented in HD by IOTV. Get your HD free with IOTV. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling with you tonight as the Mets begin their final series of the year against the Washington Nationals. The Nats come in having lost 91 games this year, and despite having had their star attraction exited from the scene, Steven Strasburg, with Tommy John surgery, he won't be back until 2012. The Nats have laid a pretty solid foundation for their future.
Well, I think so, Gare. And, Rome wasn't built in a day, and all you Met fans can think back to the late 70s and what Frank Cashin built, which inevitably became the 86 world champion Cardinals. Mets. Forgive me, Met fans. So, as I said, Rome wasn't built in a day. They got a lot of young players. They made the trade for Wilson Ramos, the catcher. It was just they're real high on. Obviously, they traded Matt Capps for him. Ian Desmond and Danny Espinosa in the middle infielders. And they've got a couple veterans in there, and Josh Willingham, who's been a Met killer, and, of course, Ryan Zimmerman, who is just a marquee player. And they've got decisions to make on Adam Dunn, who's had another big home run year. So this is a team. They've lost 91 games. It's not a bad year for this club. I think that they're a club on the rise.
And even with Strasburg out, they've got some good young pitching, and one of those guys will go tonight, Jordan Zimmerman.
Yeah, Jordan Zimmerman, who came up last year, 2 years ago, and had 16 starts, Tommy John surgery. He has a bright future in front of him. They've got guys like Craig Stammen, John Lannon, of course, and the bullpen. Drew Storen has 5 saves. That's the first ever for a Nationals team. So all of those pitchers under 26 years old, when they get Strasburg back, they should have an outstanding pitching staff. Zimmerman's going to try to match zeros tonight with Pat Mish, who makes his 5th start for the Mets.
And Mish will try once more for his first victory of the season in his final start of the year. So it's the Mets and Nats getting set to close out 2010. First to 3, all the action on SNY. By AT NYN, rethink possible. By Frostbrewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. By freescore.com. Turn a credit score triple play at freescore.com. 3 scores, 1 source, freescore.com. By Toyota, who's famous for making cars just like everyone else, only better. Visit your local Toyota dealer today. And by the New York State Smokers Quit Line. Visit the official online shop of the Mets at Mets.com. Browse the largest online selection of authentic team gear, including official caps, t-shirts, jerseys, collectibles, and more. Get team gear straight from the source. Shop the Mets.com shop. There's your Suzuki around the majors for tonight. The Reyes fall back into a first-place tie by falling in Kansas City 3-2 before Zach Greinke. The Padres have a magic number of 2 for elimination from the postseason, 2 behind Atlanta, 3 behind San Francisco. The Giants clinching a tie for the West, but now the Giants open a season-closing 3-game series against the Padres, with San Diego needing to sweep Matt Cain against Clayton Richard at AT&T Park tonight. Pat Mish set to take the mound for his final start of the year as the Mets begin their final series. Mets and Nats, first pitch coming right up. Injury. Adam Dunn, 38 home runs this year. 7 straight years he's had 38 or more. Danny Espinosa, who put a hurt on the Mets earlier this year, will lead things off for the Nats.
One of the things you learn about the first pitch is very rarely can anyone throw the first pitch. 0-4 in 5 starts. 11th game here tonight for Pat Mish as he tries to finish up strong. He hits the innings pitched has been the problem for Pat so far in his second stay here with the Mets.
Well, this was your first pitch tonight.
Okay, you know what's great about it, though? He's on the right side of the rubber towards first base. He's got the good windup.
Oh, my goodness.
Ooh.
I thought Art Fern disappeared a long time ago.
I think, honestly, if he's keeping his shoulder closed a little too long, Keith. I think he needs to open up a little more and use that back leg. If he does that, he might be able to get it 30 feet near the catcher instead of 60 feet.
Oh, goodness.
That was embarrassing.
It's my cue. Dun, 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 dun. This is the Lexus Mets defense. And you can see Davis back in the lineup. Tejada, Reyes, Hessman at third, totally behind the plate. And Mr. Pregame is probably going to be patrolling a lot of center field here at City. 86 start there. Feliciano gets a start. Duda. I like Duda. Swinging the bat good and left.
Danny Espinosa will lead things off for the Nationals. The first lineup posted by Jim Riggleman today had Nigel Morgan leading off and Espinosa hitting second. Sometime between that and game time, Riggleman changed his mind. He put Espinosa hitting leadoff.
I thought you were trying to play games with me, Gary. You gave me the lineup today.
Just messing with our scorecards. Okay. Just trying to make it a little more entertaining, a little bit more of a puzzle. Pat Mish making his 6th start of the season and looking for his first win of the year. Last start in Philadelphia Sunday, allowed 3 runs and 7 hits over 4 2/3. And wound up taking a no decision in a game that he nearly qualified for a victory.
It was the 3-run home run by Utley that really led to Pat being taken out of the game before completing the 5 innings. Nigel Morgan, who's had a very tumultuous summer, on deck. Like the weather.
Espinosa grounds one weakly to short, and Reyes throws him out one away. Espinosa has been nearly as successful as he was that incredible series that he had against the Mets in Washington.
I still think, though, Gary, he's got something he can't teach. He's got power, pop in his bat.
And from both sides of the plate. So here's Morgan, who sat out an 8-game suspension after having it reduced from 15. Never missed a game against the Mets. Played, had the suspension lessened, sat out, and here he is back. Been an up and down year for Morgan on the field, hitting .257. Ian Desmond with Zimmerman out of the lineup, batting 3rd for the Nats. And another ground ball for Mish, as Tejada throws out Morgan for the 2nd out. So 2 up and 2 quickly set aside. And here comes Desmond, the rookie shortstop. He has more multiple hit games than any rookie in the National League, and in a very crowded rookie field will get almost no consideration for Rookie of the Year honors. Nonetheless, the Nats view him as a cornerstone of their future.
He's a hard-nosed player. Plays the game hard. He got to work on his defense. Makes a lot of throwing errors, but he's got a streaky bat, and he's got good numbers for a rook.
You have to figure the errors are going to go down for Desmond as he gets a little more sure of himself.
Well, they wouldn't go down if it was his hands. He was making a lot of mistakes out in the field, but as Keith said, a lot of the throwing errors, and that should be something you can work on and get better at.
Sometimes it's simply the discretion of when to throw and when to hang on to the ball. 1-1 from Mish, and that's in for a strike. 1-2. There's some of your top rookies in the National League this year.
Well, Posey came up a little bit too late, I think, but boy, he turned that Giant club around. He gave them that bat that they lacked.
It's not only that, they are a pitching solid team. So he's a guy who's a rookie who comes in as a catcher and has to catch these fine pitchers. He's done a great job that way, too.
Well, the Marlins are putting on a very hard campaign for Gabby Sanchez. And Sanchez has nice numbers, but I think in the end it's going to come down to Posey and Hayward for that Rookie of the Year honor.
I talked to my brother last night, and they're all excited in San Francisco.
And why not, as Desmond pokes one up the middle for the first hit of the night.
And he said that really the unsung hero, he said that Aubrey Huff has just stunned everybody. He said he's fit. He said he's got a good swing. He goes the other way. He's got pop.
2 people I think on that team that you don't hear a lot about as you look at this beautiful swing by Desmond. is not only Aubrey Huff, Keith, but Andres Torres in center field has been outstanding this season.
He's kind of their Angel Pagano,
Yeah.
a slightly older player who's never really had this kind of success before, and Torres has had a terrific year for the Giants. But they made some moves to try and shore up their offense, and none bigger, as it turned out, than picking up Pat Burrell off the scrap heap. He's been amazing.
I guess what we're saying is they have 5 or 6 great stories on that team. And until last night, when Sandoval hit a home run, they hadn't got a lot of production out of Pablo like they did last season.
Adam Dunn, 38 homers, second in the National League. Desmond takes off, and Dunn yanks one foul. Dunn with 38 or more home runs, 7 straight years. Only 2 other players in history have ever done that. 7 straight years, 38 or more. Babe Ruth and Rafael Palmeiro, although apparently he had help.
Don't wag your finger at me.
He said he didn't have help.
Well, that's part of the problem. Probably a bigger part of the problem.
Very open stance. Look at his heel on the chalk, his right heel. He stands off the plate.
I mean, you see guys almost out of the box on the back line. You very rarely see guys almost out of the box on the side like that.
Maybe they got one foot on the bus.
That's not till Sunday.
That's some numbers right there, I tell you.
And Mish with the off-speed pitch strikes out Dunn. And so Mish is cleanly through the first inning. 1 hit, 1 left. Mets come to bat with no score. And so Mike Hessman gets a start at third base. Jesus Feliciano back out in right field. With the Mets outfield banged up. Carlos Beltran not going to play the rest of the year.
University of Wisconsin at Stevens Point, Jordan Zimmerman. 16 starts a couple of seasons ago, had the Thomas John surgery, has come back and is throwing very well, 90 miles an hour plus on his fastball. Only problem so far this year, 7 home runs given up in only 25 innings.
Reyes lofts one out to right. Mike Morse coming in and toward the line. And that's the first out. So Reyes retired.
And the Coors Light Nationals defense, so we talked about it at the top. The 33 errors by Desmond at shortstop. And that's the most in both leagues. That's Don't want to be there, but he's got a lot of talent. He's on the rise. I look for improvement.
Jesus Feliciano just 2 for his last 17, hitting a .250 for the year. When you look at Feliciano and you look at a 31-year-old rookie making his big league debut this year, had the big year in AAA this year. He's kind of an anomaly. I mean, he's a little guy with a big swing who doesn't walk much, and in order to be a successful player, he's got to hit 300.
Or 300 plus.
Yeah.
Which he did in AAA.
We had an extraordinary year in AAA, but you know, it's kind of hard to translate that.
Yeah, you're right. He's a solid outfielder. He doesn't steal any bases. He doesn't bunt for any base hits. And like you said, he doesn't walk. So, I mean, to get his on-base percentage up, he's got to hit 350.
I'd like for that to curl fair, but it doesn't. You need a little luck, too.
That's right.
I'll tell you what, all that heavy rain, I bet you the worms were coming up. I could have killed a worm.
Worms.
But it might have hit a worm and taken a right turn. That would have worked for Feliciano.
Call those guys, those little nubbers like that into the ground, and worm killers.
By the way, kudos to Bill Deacon and his crew for all the work they've had to do the last few days on this field with the massive amounts of rain we've had here. The shortstop where Desmond picks it up on the short hop and throws out Feliciano 2 away. And, you know, I know the field drains much better than Shea Stadium did and all that, but it's so much work for that grounds crew to get this field in shape when you've had that much rain.
And also, you have these windows on the computers when they thought they could do some work. When you got here early, you were watching them working on the field. Then it started to pour, so they had to put the tarp back on and then bring it off and work again. So those guys have been great ever since I've been here, 5 years now.
Then that awful weather, when they pulled the tarp up, and they thought we were never going to play that game, and the wind was blowing, and they put the tarp, and the wind was blowing the tarp. They had it down to a T. It was fun to actually. It was like a military. It was like a regiment moving into to flank an opponent.
I thought we almost lost a couple of men though in the tarp because they were doing that.
They were so efficient getting the tarp off the field.
Angel Pagan at .291 for the year.
Whenever I think of the inability to get the tarp on the field, I always think of the Mets and the Nationals in RFK Stadium the first year, where they could not get that tarp on the field.
Well, because Joe West waited until the field was underwater before they started to try and cover it. The worst I ever saw was in Florida the first year the Marlins were in the league, 1993. And even though it rained so much in Florida, they kept the tarp down the right field line. And they roll it out across the outfield and then drag it onto the infield. But you know how fast it rains in Florida.
Right.
And it rained so hard, so fast, they couldn't drag it.
Got too heavy.
And they had to get more people and more people as Pagan floats one the other way. And that's a base hit. Gets by the left fielder Maxwell, and Pagan takes the extra base. So Pagan with a single. Maxwell, I'm sure, will be charged with an error, enabling Pagan to go to second.
Just kind of serves the fastball out there, up and away. That's a clank. And Pagan always hustling.
If you don't hustle down the first base line, you don't get the second on that play.
So runner in scoring position for Ike Davis. Anyway, they added more and more people to pull that tarp in Florida, and finally, after about 10 or 15 minutes, they got the thing moving, and they get up ahead of steam, and they're running, and one of the grounds crew members fell, and they kept on running, and the guy went under the tarp, and nobody noticed, except for the Marlins manager, Renee Latchman, who ran out there and told him to unroll the tarp so the guy wouldn't suffocate under the tarps. Might have really lost somebody.
Oh, my God.
It was bad.
Shades of Vince Coleman in the World Series.
He got eaten up by that tarp.
Yes. Before they played Kansas City. That was 85?
Yeah. Knocked him out of that series.
Knocked him out, exactly. It happened at Busch Stadium. That was where the tarp came. It was underneath the ground, folks, and it ran along the first base line. And it would come up.
Kind of like Saran wrap.
And tarp would come out. And it was coming up, and it rolls out automatically. It rolled out on Vince Coleman's leg. And that was it for him.
Prelude to his Mets career. You know the famous line from Vince Coleman, don't you?
I don't.
Vince claimed that Pete Flynn was the man who kept him out of the Hall of Fame.
Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding.
So Pete Flynn, who used to be the head groundskeeper for years, started with the Mets in the Polo Grounds. He got the Beatles into the Hall of Fame and kept Vince Coleman out.
There you go.
There we go. Okay.
Exactly. Vince had a strange relationship with most people. Slow ground ball, and Dunn near the bag. Makes the play on Davis to end the inning. 1 hit, 1 left after 1. No score. Available in HD, presented by IOTV. And if you're in the car, listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. Just 2 more after today, tomorrow afternoon, and Sunday afternoon. And then again next April.
Well, March.
Well, I was talking about games that have import in the championship standings. Mike Morris takes high for ball 1. Morris has settled in as the most days right fielder for the Nats. Getting a .290 for the year. He's had a good season. 259 at bats, 13 home runs. And he hits one out to right center. And Feliciano is there, excuse me. 1 out. So 1 away. Now Pudge Rodriguez. 2,817 career hits for Pudge, who will be back with the Nats next year, but probably in a less prominent role, you'd have to think.
Well, I think he's going to serve as a mentor, and maybe he will be, for the first time in his career, the backup guy. But he can take solace, and whenever he decides to stop playing 5 years from then, he'll go in the Hall of Fame.
But I think that he can have fun with this next year. If this young kid pans out for them, this Wilson Ramos, who they traded for from Minnesota, it'd be great fun to pass on your tricks of the trade, your little tidbits here and there, how to call a game, a lot of things you can do. So it's such an important position, catching.
Yeah, but there's another piece. Pudge is 183 hits away from 3,000, and that's got to be a goal. He's obviously going to want to play enough so that it's only going to take him 2 years to get there. So I don't know if he's going to be happy with playing 50 or 60 games.
I think he'll play enough. I really do. Things happen. He will definitely play enough to, I think, Jim Riggleman will play him enough to his satisfaction.
Poke just foul.
Young catchers in their first year, too, it's difficult to go out there and catch 140 games. Maybe 115.
You see the home run list for catchers, and Pudge has been known for his defense, and his hitting also has over 300 home runs as a catcher.
Boy, it's a shame that Mr. Piazza didn't get 4 more home runs, huh? It's just a tough position for longevity.
You know, when you talk about a rookie catcher and playing a lot of games, that's the situation that the Mets are going to find themselves in next year, with Josh Thole presumably as the #1 catcher. And you wonder what the Mets are going to plan in terms of his backup next season. You know, is Josh capable of going out there and being a 130, 140 game catcher? Do they need to get somebody who can play more games than Henry Blanco can play on a week-in, week-out basis?
I think they absolutely have to have someone who can play more games. I don't think Josh is ready to catch 130, 140 games. And still maintain his offensive stroke. I mean, that's part of what makes him a good player. It's his ability to put the bat on the ball. But I also think that if you could find a nice right-handed veteran catcher who still has some life in him, like a Bud Rodriguez, you would have a guy that could mentor Thole too. Now, as far as the defensive end, Henry can't get better than Henry Blanco.
But Blanco's going to be 39 next year also. And, you know, as much as you love having Henry on your team, he's better suited for being a guy who plays once a week.
Yeah. Well, the more you look out there, you realize that the catchers are few and far between, even in the minor leagues for most teams.
Well, and that's why the Nats made such a coup when they made that trade. They signed Matt Capps as a free agent in the offseason, gave him, $3.5 million, and then at midseason traded him to Minnesota, brought back Ramos, who was stuck behind Joe Mauer. It was really the perfect trade for Washington.
It was a great parlay, wasn't it?
What did it pay?
And Nish strikes out Pudge.
You got one thing on the brain, by the way.
I mean,
I'm all over the place.
What time does that BYU game start today?
8 o'clock. I'm all over the place. I get this way when it's the last weekend of the season.
I just found out that you're not working tomorrow.
Yes.
How did that happen?
I got a call from Mr. Gowdy Jr. and he said that we don't need 3 in the booth. We've worked hard this year, Keith. I'm proud of you. And
you already drove in 100.
You've done a good job. I want you to have the day off. Well,
Ronnie, did you get a vote on that?
I didn't get a vote. I didn't get a vote on anything.
I said, Mr. Gowdy, thank you very much. I'm really tired. I can use it. Thank you so much.
Oh, boy.
Seriously. But I'll be here Sunday with bells on.
I'll bet.
Dave, you going to be here? No?
Boy, Mish has a good changeup so far today. Best one he's had since he's been called up.
He's ahead on Justin Maxwell, 1-2. Maxwell playing in left field, hitting a $146. Josh Willingham, of course, out for the year. And he lays off. It's low, 2-2. Maxwell, who has 3 home runs this year, 2 of them grand slams. In fact, he has 4 home runs in his career. 3 of them grand slams.
Nice.
He hits that one just inside first base, and he's got himself an extra base hit.
He can run a little bit, too. He's motoring around those bases.
So a 2-out double for Maxwell, his 6th double of the year, and the 2nd hit off Nish.
Maxwell has all the tools. Nice hitting here, though, Keith.
Up, nicely done, going right with it. A little bit of a straight back with his hands. Big stride. Another one of those guys with a spread stance. Strong kid.
Good adjustment, though. Tried to pull the first 2 changeups. Went the other way with the last one.
Now the number 8 hitter, Alberto Gonzalez, playing third base in the absence of Ryan Zimmerman. He probably will not play this weekend. Down with a rib injury. And a strike call to Gonzalez. Zimmerman had a terrific year this year, though.
It's a lot of rib injuries now. I can't remember. I can count on one hand the rib injuries I heard about in 15 years of playing professional baseball.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. They do a ton of core exercises. I know that. I'm not saying that's the reason for it. They're stronger in their core than we ever were. Maybe they don't have some of the extra kind of body mass
they don't have
to sustain a 162-game season.
They have low body fat. Yeah. That's what they have. They're a little too tight.
In more ways than one. I never had a trouble with my
Did Gonzalez swing? He did. That's strike 3. And now your obliques are doing well, even in retirement?
I've actually been working on my core very strongly lately in retirement.
A double and 1 left. Good start for Pat Mish. Does score at Citi Field. A tour of Citi Field to visit the Mets clubhouse, dugout, the Mets Hall of Fame and Museum, and more. Call 718-507-TIXX or log on to Mets.com to reserve your tour today.
We promised each other we go to see the Hall of Fame. Have you done it yet? Again?
Not the second time.
Yeah,
maybe we'll do
maybe
it
this
Sunday.
weekend. Yeah.
Lucas Duda leads off for the Mets in the bottom of the second. Duda started out his career 1 for 34. Since then, 13 for 36, a 361 clip. And Jordan Zimmerman throws a first pitch fastball for a strike. Mike Hessman on deck, and then Josh Thole here in the home second. And the curveball bounced foul, 0-2, and Zimmerman's had a good curveball early in this game.
When they look at him throw, they think of him as kind of an Oswalt clone. Now he's going to have to go a long way to match what Roy can do, but good straight fastball, can spot it, good life upstairs, and a good curveball.
And you have to figure that next year his velocity is going to increase. He came back just about a year after Tommy John surgery. He had the surgery August of last year, came back August of this year. This is his 7th start. And they've been limiting him to mid-80s in terms of his pitch count.
You can see a little Roy Oswalt in this motion. Very compact, not a lot of moving parts. Very kind of a 1-2-3 kind of motion. Very easy.
A little bigger guy than Oswalt. And the curveball gets Duda looking for the first out. First strikeout for Zimmerman.
Dropping the old hammer on him on the outside corner. Nice pitch. Took something off, too. Get you out in front. All of a sudden. Nice. Yep. He knew it.
Keith, to the left-handed batter, that backdoor breaking ball, does it appear to never, ever come over the plate? It's almost like it goes around the plate, doesn't it?
It depends on the breaking ball.
Okay.
Some guys have big benders that will tend to bend around it, and some guys have tight ones that'll sneak right in there at the last minute. Ed Halicki, that's an old name there. Ho-Ho.
Giant?
He had a little tight little 2-inch slider.
Once pitched a no-hitter against the Mets.
Yes, he did.
Mike Hessman, 7 for 49. A 143 batting average. getting the start at third base today with David Wright getting the day off. And a fastball in tight, 2-1. Josh Thole hitting 7th in the order on deck. And that curveball in for a strike. He's a good command of that pitch.
That's how you judge young pitchers. What can they do when they're behind in the count? Do they have a pitch that they can throw over the plate that'll bend or take a little off?
Just 24 years old and has pitched very little, what with the Tommy John surgery. 16 major league starts last year, 6 more this year.
And really one of the amazing things in today's game is the pitchers in the old days, if they had injuries like Tommy John, they're finished.
Hessman hits one deep down the left field line, but it's hooking. Foul.
Today they come back, and looks like they come back stronger, Ronnie.
It's amazing, right? I would have had Tommy John surgery around 93 would have been the key.
Even older pitchers. I mean, look at Billy Wagner and what he's been able to do since Tommy John surgery.
Well, they've gotten to a point where the doctors who perform these surgeries, they've got it down pat.
Hit hard, but right to Desmond. And he throws out Hessman 2 away. Well, there are some Tommy John survivors. And their numbers this year. And you see Tim Hudson and Chris Carpenter, Francisco Lariano, Josh Johnson. They all seem to be stronger than ever.
Best ever after Tommy John surgery? Tommy John. He was even a better pitcher than he was before.
Well, among the guys we get to see regularly, I would nominate Josh Johnson, who was good before Tommy John surgery. I think he's better now.
I'm going to nominate Hong Chi Kuo for the best after 2 Tommy John surgeries.
He could hit 2.
That's right.
And flip the bat. Do you remember that?
I remember it.
3 straight homers off John Mayne.
It was the first time I wanted to get back in a uniform. Jeez.
And Kuo hits the 3rd home run and flips the bat. 1-1 to Thole.
Oh boy, he's got that hook working. I think maybe you got to start looking for it. He's loving it.
Good pitch for him right here is after that slow hook, fastball in. See if he can use that sequence.
There it is, and Thole fouls it off.
That opens up now. Okay, I'm not going to live out there in that backdoor curveball on your lefties. You can see Thole was way behind. Inside outing.
It's not a bad use of that fastball by Thole. Almost kept that ball fair.
Double up inside. One of my favorites. See, what you allow yourself as a pitcher when you do those kind of things, double up on fastballs in, is you not allow yourself 3 or 4 ways to get a hitter out. There's no way. You know, Josh's a different hitter. You know, he chokes up on that bat. He's really just trying to make contact. But fastball away, fastball up, curveball in the dirt, fastball in again.
3 times in a row. And he misses with it.
It's a very simple game, Gary. It's easy.
I don't think there's anything easy about it.
Neither do I. Just being facetious.
That's what Richie Ashburn always used to say when he worked with Harry Collins. He said, Harry, this game's easy.
Easy up here.
Richie Ashburn had more hits in the decade of the 1950s than anybody. More than Mays, more than Aaron, more than Mantle, more than Clement, more than everybody. Richie Ashburn.
I just found it interesting that defensively, with all those great defensive outfielders, he was the only one every year would have 500 putouts. 3 times he did that.
Well, Philly pitchers weren't very good. Thole hits one out to shallow center. Desmond out. He can't get it. And Tole's got himself a pop fly single. Well, Josh persevered through that at bat and winds up with a 2-out hit.
Pulled up there at the end with Desmond. Heard the footsteps of Morgan.
Morgan got a bad jump on it. He kind of broke back.
That's a living example, isn't it, Josh Thole, of why you want to cut down on your strikeouts? You put the ball in play, you just never know what's going to happen.
There have been 4 hits in this game, 2 for each side. Each one has come with 2 out and nobody on. Here's Ruben Tejada hitting at 209. And he hits a slow ground ball. Gonzalez goes the short way. And that'll do it for the Mets in the bottom of the second. 2 in the books at Citi Field. Mets and Nats, no score. By Hornitos, 100% pure agave tequila. Hornitos reminds you to drink responsibly. Visit hornitostequila.com today. Keith, would that be Hornitos or Hornitos?
H is silent in Espanol. Hornitos.
Hornitos, with an H. Because if you're going to the website, you need to know that it's
J is kind of
H.
a song, I guess.
Jordan Zimmerman leads off for the Nationals in the 3rd inning with no score. Well, it's been a source of much conversation over the last several weeks, the job status of Jerry Manuel and Omar Minaya. Today, John Heyman, who works for many media sources, including SNY, put out a story saying that it is a done deal that Jerry and Omar will be let go at the end of the season. He did not quote anybody directly. He said, sources say. This is not my first rodeo with managers being on the hot seat and rumors and reports and all this, but I'm very puzzled because it certainly has been widely speculated over the last few weeks that Jerry's job was in jeopardy and that Omar's job has been in jeopardy. And yet today, when one columnist who is not right all the time, John's got a pretty good track record, but he's not always right. When he reported it, the rest of the media treated it like it was a done deal and began throwing questions at Jerry and asking him about his job status. There are 2 things I don't understand. One, why did the media react the way they did, all jumping into the middle of the story because one guy reported it? And 2, if he's right and the story was leaked to him by somebody who's in the know, why? Why was it leaked at this point to put Jerry and Omar, who are 2 very good people, whatever you think of their job performance, in that kind of position to have to answer these questions all weekend?
Well, it's an awful thing to do if it's the latter. Just a heinous thing to do if it's the latter. Why do the other reporters jump on the story, Gary? Because their editors, when they find out that Heyman wrote an article like that, they get peeved. And they make sure that they tell their writers to make sure they get something new to push the story, which might not be a story.
Well, but even our pregame show today treated the story as though it was
fact.
A done deal.
Yeah.
It was fact.
And I think that's wrong, too. I think that, you jump on these things, and you have to sometimes, and I'm talking about our network, I'm talking about whomever. At some point, you got to step back, and you got to personalize the story. These are two men who have families who are watching TV, and to have a source that says that both guys are done, I think is
an anonymous source.
An anonymous source is just an awful, awful thing to do. You know what? If you don't want Jerry to be the manager, you don't want Omar to be the general manager, I totally understand those things. The team has had a tough year, but to let them wiggle in the wind for 3 days is just awful.
It's just become so much sensationalism, and let's face it, this Met team hasn't been a lot to write about of late, and stories relegated in the middle of the sport pages, and not even getting a full page story on the games. It creates a story and gets people to buy papers, to watch the TV programs. It is an overreaction. It's almost like shark-infested waters. Nothing's changed, really. There's just more media.
More of it.
More media.
Yeah, and I guess what troubles me the most is it seems as though there are some people in the media, and not everybody, but who almost revel in this thing. And they forget sometimes that these are two good, really good and honorable people, regardless of what you think of their job performance. And the fact that, that this story has been put out there, and Jerry was asked today if anybody has said anything to him about his job status, and he said no, and I have to believe that that's true. And again, if it was leaked by anybody in a position to know, you have to wonder what the motive was.
Yeah. Well, of course, there are many that'll revel in it, and shame on them also. Jerry was asked today, we were there at the press conference, asked by one of the reporters what he would tell the next manager to help him with the team next year. You know what Jerry said? What are you doing here? This team is my team. And I thought that was a good answer.
Good answer indeed. Morgan flies out to Feliciano. 1-2-3 inning for Pat Mish. No score in the middle of the third. Tonight, with three players have hit 350 or more home runs while averaging at least one strikeout every 4.1 at bats. Let's see if we can get that again. What three players have hit 350 home runs while averaging at least one strikeout every 4.1 at bats? So high homers, high strikeouts.
Bobby Bonds is first on my list, I'm thinking.
Reggie Jackson.
How about
Adam Dunn?
Dunn?
Does he have over 350?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 38 or more 7 straight years.
That's right. Do the math, Ronnie. Come on, figure it out.
That's not quite 350. But he's been around longer than that, right? Mish hits the comebacker. And Zimmerman throws him out.
350 is a lot of bombs, though, you know?
Yeah, nice crowd tonight.
Last homestand, right? Always
nice crowd.
Everyone wants to come out for the last homestand.
Reyes flying to right his first time up.
There's my buddies right over here. Patton Miller right here. He's a Southampton. He's one of the more prominent artists, famous artists in Southampton. Good friend of mine. His wife's over there in this, I should say, the Silver Fox. So I don't want her getting mad at me. That's Nancy. And their son with the red hat, Christian, with the T. They're in for the game. They're big Met fans.
Keith, I got a question.
Yes.
Reyes dribbles one about 15 feet. And Pudge with that still strong arm throws him out, 2 away. Several days in a row now we've found friends of yours in the stands. The first 2 times you had them in the front room beyond the dugout.
I don't know how they got there. I think they had the game up for tank seats, and they're the ones that were able to come down and sit in the box seats.
But your friends tonight,
I don't know how they got there. I really don't know how they got there. I have no idea.
Those artist types, they don't like to be at the front.
I sat Pat and Nancy down there the whole year. They've come to around maybe, I'd say, 24 ball games there. I got tickets for the whole homestand and 4 a night. And people at Sag Harbor, they just love it. They come. I got rid of them in one night.
One thing I've learned of this trip through Keith's life and his friends out in the Hamptons, you and I really don't have a lot of friends, do we? We never show our friends.
A little more private, you know.
Okay.
Keith has led a much more public life than you and I have.
My life's an open book.
More and more.
Yes. Absolutely. Stunning.
1-2 to Feliciano. And he bounces one down to Adam Dunn. And he'll take it himself to end the inning. 3 ground ball outs for Jordan Zimmerman. 3 in the books with no score. Ian Desmond leads off against Pat Mish. Desmond singled to center his first time up. And he pushes a bunt, but foul. In conjunction with the 2011 SNY Invitational, the Metro PCS Leaders and Scholars Program will award a $2,500 scholarship to 20 of New York's best and brightest students who excel in the classroom, volunteer their time to help others, and work toward bettering their community. For more information and details on how you can apply for the Metro PCS Leaders and Scholars Program, visit SNYinvitational.com. And a slow grounder foul. 0-2 to Desmond with Adam Dunn and Mike Morse to follow for the Nats in the fourth. The Nats closing the season here at Citi Field. The last time this franchise closed the season at the Mets, it was the last ever game for the Montreal Expos in 2004. The Expos played their first ever game at Shea Stadium, and they played their last ever game at Shea Stadium.
Is that a game where Todd Zeal's last hit was a home run in that game?
I believe that's right.
Yeah. He pulled to Ted Williams.
And while the Nats provide the last opponent at Citi Field in 2010, they will be the first opponent for the Mets at Citi Field in 2011. Mets will play their home opener against the Nats next year on a Friday afternoon.
And the Mets open up on the road in Florida. Then you go up to Philly. So right in the soup.
Desmond lifts one to right field. And Feliciano chasing it with the wind, which is blowing in tonight. And he puts it away for the out. Well, it is the final weekend of the season. And over the course of the weekend, as you watch Feliciano make that catch, there are a number of people that we need to thank because, you know, we're on the air every day and people see our faces and hear our voices, but we wouldn't be able to do this job without dozens and dozens of people providing support, both, you know, folks who work with us on the broadcast and other folks who help us in all sorts of different ways around the ballpark here at Citi Field. And, you know, over the course of these 3 days, we're going to mention some names. And we figured we'd start with the most important people, the people who feed us.
Yes, that's right.
There is such a wonderful staff of people who work just behind us. You can't see them, but they're back there. As Reyes throws out Dunn for the second out in the press dining room and the kitchen there. So, Maureen Williamson is the wonderful leader of that crew, but she has plenty of help from Gracie Negocian, Neil Logan, Anthony Lucas, Charles Davis, Yellen Rincon, and of course the denizen of the press dining room, Bill the Baker.
You need a stat, you go to Bill.
Bill is always be by himself and he'll be spewing out stats.
Oh, he's got so many.
Got to fit them all into the day.
That's right. But they do a wonderful job for us back there. And Maureen and Charles run a tight ship. Charles is a bit of a pain, but we still like him. Charles has been there a long time.
One to Mike Morse.
Holds his hands away like I used to. A little higher than me.
He's a big guy, Mike Morse. It's hard to believe he came up as a shortstop.
Yeah. Reminds me of the body type of a friend of mine, Billy Ashley, who played for the Dodgers in the 90s.
He was never a shortstop.
No.
1-2. And Mish misses inside with the fastball. 2-2. Winning games has been elusive for Pat Mish over his major league career. 3 wins and 15 losses. looked sharp tonight. Gets Morris to ground out to Tejada. 7 in a row retired by Mish. Scoreless game at Citi Field through the 3.5. They finished their non-conference schedule against Vanderbilt at Rentschler Field. Vanderbilt at UConn. Coverage begins at Citi Pregame tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. on SNY. Angel Pagan leads off for the Mets in the home 4th inning in a scoreless game. Pagan's single to left advanced on an error in the 1st inning. One of 2 hits for the Mets over the first 3 innings against Jordan Zimmerman. Zimmerman starts Pagan with a changeup. Mostly fastballs and curveballs for Zimmerman tonight. Ike Davis and Lucas Duda to follow in the home 4th. And Angel lifts one to center. Morgan easing back. 1 away.
Well, guys, when you play these games out and you don't have a chance to be in a pennant race, numbers are more important to some players over other players. Ike Davis now has some numbers that he can chase here in this final weekend to put himself in a position of maybe having one of the best offensive seasons for a rookie ever in a Mets uniform.
Ike started the day with 70 runs batted in, just 4 shy of Darryl Strawberry's club record. He hits this one to deep right field. Back goes Morris to the track, looking up, and it's out of here. Ike Davis adds to that RBI total. His 19th home run of the year, his 71st run batted in, and he puts the Mets in front 1-0. He tied one of the club record, his 53rd extra base hit. That ties Ty Wigginton's rookie mark.
He turned on that fastball right on cue, Ronnie.
It's against the wind, too.
Yes, it is.
It's a strong man. 19 home runs now for Ike.
There's the IO. Pitch differential, not much. And actually got it in more than where the catcher wanted it. He just turned on him.
That was a hitter standing in the box, guessing first pitch fastball, middle of the plate in.
Yes. Or else able to cover the whole plate, just feeling that good, you know. When you feel that good, you can cover the whole plate.
Lucas Duda takes outside. Ike, with that home run, also set a Mets rookie mark for total bases in a season. 228, one more than Ty Wigginton in 2003. There you see his status on the RBI list. He's actually got 71. Mike Hessman on deck. Duda takes low inside. Well, 20 home runs would be a really nice thing for Ike to get. He's got the rest of today and 2 more games to try and reach that mark. And Duda pops one up. Desmond takes charge. And there are 2 away. Ronnie, you were talking about Jordan Zimmermann, his propensity for giving up home runs this year. That's been his one Achilles heel.
Yeah, 8 now in 29 innings, 29 2/3. That's way too many. But, he's certainly not throwing. He's throwing about 3 or 4 miles an hour slower than he did before the Tommy John. And like you said, Gary, I think that over the course of the winter, with his training, he's going to come back and be a formidable opponent for the Mets in the upcoming years.
Here's Mike Hessman, who grounded to short his first time up, and he fouls one off. In Atlanta tonight, the Braves, if they can beat the Phillies, will clinch at least a tie for the wild card in the National League. The Braves are up 1-0 at the bottom of the second on a Derek Lee RBI double. That's Brandon Beachy, the rookie, making another start for Atlanta
some
tonight.
Big starts or what?
Another hard hit ball by Hessman, but again, right to an infielder, so he's retired. But the Mets grab the lead on Ike Davis's 19th home run of the year. Ike keeps knocking down those Mets rookie marks. And he gives the Mets their first marker, 1-0 New York. Players have hit 350 or more home runs, at least one strikeout every 4.1 at bats. And those would be Dave Kingman, Jim Thome, and Adam Dunn.
I thought Thome.
With Dunn having the highest strikeout rate of the 3.
How could we not get Kingman? What were we thinking?
Kingman had, I believe, 442 home runs, and remarkably hit 35 in his last major league season.
And nobody wanted him.
Nobody wanted him.
Wow.
Jason Bay, who's not going to play again this year, talking with his teammates. Nice play by Hessman at third to throw out Pudge Rodriguez for the first out. So one away. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
You know, guys, for the last 20 years or so, Dan Worthen has done something neat at the end of the season to his pitchers. He gives them a DVD, and what he did this year is he gave all the Mets pitchers DVDs with all of their good outings, all against NL East opponents. And I said, well, what constitutes a good outing to you on that DVD? He said, any good outing to me is an outing with very minimal walks and a positive score in the end. That's the way I look at it. And what's on there, all those good outings against the NL East, whether it's relief, starts, you name it, every pitch is on there. And the reason is because he wants guys, you know, once they resume their workout program in the offseason, once they start throwing, he wants them to go back to the DVD and look at things that they did well and kind of get back in their muscle memory why they were successful, and also, you know, get a feel for the opponents in the NL East, which you'll see so often during the year. I talked to R.A. Dickey about it. He said, I find it very useful. He said, I'll probably watch it closer to spring training, and for me, I'm very much watching the mechanics of it all, you know, especially with they're so important to me as a knuckleballer, so I really find it a useful tool. Guys?
I think, Kevin, that's great. I think you make a good point, and the point being is that when you are struggling with your mechanics and you're struggling to get wins, that's the only time you pay attention to the things you're doing. You never pay attention when you're on a hot streak because you just don't want it to go away, so you don't even think about it. You just let it ride out like a beautiful wave. So when you get it on DVD, now you are seeing that affirmation of all the good things that you did.
Let me ask you this, Ronnie, as a pitcher, when you're home in the off season and if you watch your positive outings, is it more a mental thing as Maxwell strikes out for the second out? Is it more a mental boost in terms of seeing what you've done successfully, or is there a way of taking what you see and mechanically putting it into play even when you're away from the game in the offseason?
Yeah, you could do both. I used to look at the mechanics, and I used to always try to say, how can I make that even simpler? How can I make it very Santana-like, who just repeats his motion over and over? Because all good pitchers are trying to do that. You're trying to repeat your motion. Very few can do it. Rivera and Santana, some of the best.
You know, Ronnie, maybe you see something different, right? I mean, as soon as they come to spring training or here to Citi Field, obviously they have the whole video archive. The players can watch any video they want, but there's something, I guess, about sitting on your couch maybe in a little different atmosphere that, who knows, maybe you see something a little bit differently than you would if you were sitting at a desk hunched over looking at the video here.
Yeah, you're so right, Kevin. And the one thing that I would see on the videotape, which would always give me a chuckle in the offseason, is that when you would have a big strikeout game or when you'd have a good game, you'd say, boy, I was pitching to the corners, painting the corners. Then you watch the DVD or the video and you say, boy, I got away with a lot of pitches. So it's really good. It lets you know that you don't have to be perfect to have a great game.
Mish with back-to-back strikeouts. 6 strikeouts for Mish, a season high. We're halfway through at Citi Field with the Mets up 1-0.
You know, when you watch this pitcher, concentrate on the elbow. See how high that elbow is and see how much it pronates before the ball even gets through. When you look at pitchers, Rick Peterson will tell you, that's a red sign. You don't like to see that because it's called a high elbow because you put so much strain on your elbow. The difference is that Pat Mish does not throw 95 miles an hour, or that could present a problem. Probably for you fans at home, a pitcher that had a high elbow and it cost him was Mark Pryor.
And the funny thing about that, of course, is that when Pryor came out of USC and he started his very quick path up the ladder and won 18 games his first full season, everybody said, oh, here's a guy with perfect mechanics.
Right. Well, he had perfect mechanics except for the elbow. What everyone thought were good mechanics was because here was a guy who was 6'6", 235 pounds, and had as compact a motion as anyone's ever had. But that high elbow put a lot of strain on his arm, and also he was not, I wouldn't say pushed, but he pitched more innings earlier than most pitchers do. You see from behind, he just keeps that ball hidden so long that it's almost like he's throwing his elbow at you first to the catcher's glove, and the arms kind of follows. Watch the elbow. It's kind of like he's throwing it into the catcher's glove, bang, and then the arm snaps through.
Now, when I used to watch film of Sandy Koufax pitching, it almost seemed as though Koufax did that.
He had the lag, which it's hard to teach pitchers. He used to be able to drop his hand behind all the way down to his shoe and then kind of propel himself to the plate like the battering rams in the medieval days. He would just tilt and just explode to the plate.
Only lines one to left, and Maxwell's there to pick it off. 1 out.
You know, one thing I heard about Sandy that I did not know is that on his spike, on his left spike, he would take out the front spike because he wanted to have his toe be able to dig right into the mound and feel like he was pushing off with the ball of his foot, not off the spike, which is, I haven't heard anyone do that before.
What would be the advantage of it?
I think he just wanted to feel in those olden parks. You know, they'd always have that bigger hole than they do now in these parks, and he could really just get his foot in there and kind of locked in like a T and propel off that.
Tejada takes high. Tejada hit into a fielder's choice his first time up. 1-0 New York on Ike Davis's 19th home run of the year. That came in the 4th. And Zimmerman gets ahead 1-2. Talking about Sandy Koufax. You know what? Sandy Koufax's birthday is December 30th. It's a pretty good day for being a sports superstar.
I know.
Born on December 30th. Sandy Koufax, LeBron James, Tiger Woods.
Yep. See,
it's pretty good.
They're so special. They had to come before the new year.
Tax break. Espinosa grabs the line drive. 2 line drive outs for Zimmerman in the 5th inning. There's your Acela 5th inning recap. The only run of the game coming on Ike Davis's home run. Pat Mish looking for his first win of the year, and he's been very solid. A season high 6 strikeouts and no walks over the first 5 innings. And it turned it bad now for Mish as Davis relives his home run. Let's visualize it.
Well, why not? We're just talking about visualizing good things.
Mish hit a comebacker his first time up. And a check swing, and Mish held it in time. Mish looking for his first win tonight. Zimmerman got his first win in his last start, as he beat the Braves last Friday. Late swing foul, 2-2. They've gone to the bottom of the third in Atlanta tonight with the Braves still up 1-0.
Beachy against Kyle Kendrick, I believe.
Well, it's pretty simple whether the Braves win tonight or not. San Diego's just got to win all 3 games this weekend from the Giants. Breaking ball in for a call, strike 3. Mish down looking. Second strikeout for Zimmerman. Through 5. 1-0 Mets. To SNY for behind-the-scenes access, player reactions, and a complete game breakdown with exclusive on-field interviews and Rex Ryan's post-game comments on Jets Post-Game Live, presented by Toyota, Sunday immediately after the Jets-Bills game, only on SNY.
Is that an 8 p.m. game, I believe? No? It's afternoon?
Oh. We'll have to do a few, peek-ins here and there.
Peek-ins?
No. We're going to be working. So, maybe just take a little gander between innings.
I've seen you two. There's no peeking involved at all.
1-2 to Zimmerman. Pat Mish made his first major league start August 4th of 2007 in San Diego. He struck out 8 batters in that game. Since then, he's only had 1 start where he struck out as many as 6 until tonight. And he's got 6 tonight. And now he's got 7. Wow. Including the last 3 in a row. 1 out of the 6. Let's check in with Chris Carlin. He's got a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. So we'll keep tabs on that game. There you see the playoff picture with the Phillies and Reds in. The Giants will probably get the 2nd seed, assuming they don't get swept this weekend. And the Padres hanging on for dear life. They'll have Clayton Richard try to save their season tonight against Matt Cain in San Francisco.
That was Heath Bell's first loss in last night's game.
Giving up a 9th inning hit to a 28-year-old rookie named Brad Snyder.
Did you see the hit?
Seeing eye dog.
Yeah, ground ball, just found a hole.
A little inside out Johnson.
In fact, looked like Tejada, the shortstop, was not, didn't see the ball off the batter. He didn't react to it anyway.
He kind of chopped at it. Just hit a little Baltimore chop right through between third and short. found the hole.
3-0 to Danny Espinosa, and Mitch throws a strike. Well, if you look at the San Diego Padres, and let's assume they don't pull a miraculous comeback and win, how do you feel at the end of the season when you're that team that has made the most unlikely of runs and played brilliantly for the first 5 months, only to kind of give it away in September? Do you feel as though you've accomplished something because you've taken that step forward, or you feel miserable because you didn't take advantage of the opportunity?
I think a little bit of both. I don't think they gave it away. I think they hit that one bad streak. What would they? How many?
Well, it's 10 in a row.
10 in a row, but they came back from that. I thought and played well. They recovered after they got the win. The Giants played terrific. I mean, wow, we fell short.
Working with the drag bunt, and Davis gets over to make the tag.
Well, I have to say that the best way I can equate it for Mets fans was in 1984. And there was a team that we weren't expected to. We were expected to have a better team, but certainly not a team that was that would go for the pennant. And I know what I felt like after that season was utter disappointment. Not we were happy that you had a good year, happy that you had tried to stand up to the Cubs, who were a very formidable opponent that year, but you never know how many shots you have at the title. So you didn't know that they were going to the lengthy success that the team enjoyed.
I was never on a team that led most of the year and then fell apart and lost it. But 85 and 87, certainly, those were heartbreaking. 85 was heartbreaking because we hadn't had 86 yet. We were, and that was just such a hard. Was that the year we won 98?
98, yeah.
98 games and go home.
You want to sit in a room with the light out for a while. That's how it feels.
Another way, I have a very positive development on the official scoring front.
Yes.
Nigel Morgan was not given credit for a sacrifice on that bunt.
Wow.
Bill Shannon stepping forward.
That's good. We're changing it up. Very good, Bill.
That's the way it should be.
I thought Bill did an outstanding job last night in a very difficult scoring play. I thought he hit it in all cylinders last night.
Desmond takes that cutter just inside 1-2.
He's got some pull. He's a New York guy. Maybe he'll start a trend.
Bill wrote the book.
That's right.
About official scoring, literally. If you ever want to read a nice little pamphlet about the ins and outs of official scoring, Bill Shannon published it. Curveball struck him out. Now Pat Mish matches his career high with his 8th strikeout through 6 innings. He's got a shutout going against the Washington Nationals. 1-0 New York. Business of baseball, Xerox ready for real business.
Well, with the home run he gave up to Ike Davis tonight, he's given up 8 home runs and only 30 innings pitched. He has great poise, and that's what they like about him. out there on that mound is that he's shown it from day one that he belongs in the big leagues. And electric stuff he did have before the Tommy John surgery, but we can see now coming off it that he hasn't lost a thing.
A couple of curveballs have him ahead on Reyes, 0-2. Feliciano and Pagan to follow for the Mets here in the home sixth. And Reyes bounces one down to Gonzalez, makes a nice backhand pick and throws out Jose for the first out. Well, Jose Reyes last year missed most of the season because of the hamstring injury. This year began spring training with a thyroid problem that kept him out virtually the entire spring. Ran into an oblique problem in the middle of the year, and yet obviously a big step forward for Jose this year compared to last.
Well, 30 stolen bases, the 29 doubles, 10 trips, 11 home runs, played 131 ball games. Jose was a lot more streaky this year than he has been in the past. He had a lot of periods where he was red hot and a lot of periods where he was ice cold. And, you know, Jose has always been a more consistent player. But I think all in all, he's had a terrific year.
Nice pick by Dunn. Feliciano retired 2 out.
Well, I don't think things have changed at all. I think this is a positive year because despite the oblique, no injuries to his legs, and he's gotten through a whole year. Nice play by Desmond, showed a great arm, and a nice pick by Adam. But the same things that he's had to work on from day one, he still has to work on, and that is getting on more, his on-base percentage. And I really believe as this team moves forward, one of the things he's going to have to go back to is be one of those 50 stolen base kind of guys. I don't think he ran as much this year. That might be from just, you know, cautionary from last season. I don't know what. Only Jose would know. But he's got to get that back up to 40 to 50 steals in key situations to generate some Reyes kind of runs. And I think the other thing is you know, like most players in the game, you know, a little hard look in the mirror. And what does he want his baseball card to say someday when this is all over because it goes so quick? Does he want to play on a championship team? If he does, he's got to take, at some point, more of a leadership role and inspire some of his teammates to better play.
Well, Jose has been in the big leagues almost 8 years now. He was a very healthy player for that 4-year span from 05 to 08, and then last year missed most of the season. This year, the oblique injury, which I think we kind of believe was not handled as well as it could have been. He was put back in action when he probably shouldn't have been, and that probably cost him more time than it should have, at least productive time. But he's going to be he's got an option on his contract, and the Mets have to figure out what to do with that after the season is over, once they figure out who's in charge. 1-0 Mets after 6.
Back at Citi Field, where Adam Dunn leads it off against Pat Mish here in the 7th. And we went to break talking about Jose Reyes, kind of evaluating his season this year. And in a way, guys, I think it's tough to do. I remember seeing him in the offseason training in Long Island. And, you know, of course, all the focus was on his hamstrings. And he looked great in that work. I mean, he was sprinting inside. We talked a lot about it. And just his feelings overall, I think, you know, he was so unsure at so many points last year. And just that feeling of confidence finally, which took a long time in the offseason to get over. And I really think that, you know, he was so confident going into spring training, and then that thyroid thing just really hurt him. And obviously it showed. He was sluggish to start the season. But, you know, to sit home on his couch for, 22 days and not do a thing, I think that's the biggest story of Jose's season, is that he's had to stop and start 3 times. I mean, I count that as a stop and start. He had the oblique in Puerto Rico, and then had the aggravation again of the oblique. And I think that's one thing that contributed to the inconsistent play, to the hot and cold starts. I mean, I think one thing is his attitude in the clubhouse has always been the same. He's always the guy that's happy-go-lucky, bouncing off the walls, that type of thing. But, Ronnie, I think you have a valid point. He's been in the major leagues a long time now, and, you know, as a veteran of this team, you might need to take a different type role now, I think, going forward.
One thing I would also say is, and we've said this in a couple of different contexts, but it's true with Jose too. When the Mets were playing their best this season in late May and through the month of June, Jose was playing at the top of his game. And when he hurt the oblique in Puerto Rico, everything went south from there. I mean, the Mets were, 3-7 after that going into the All-Star break, 2-9 on that first trip coming out, and that was basically their season.
Well, that stat is not a mirage. When he scores runs, the Mets win.
3-2 to Adam Dunn. And he struck him out. Pat Mish with a career best 9 strikeouts.
Career best. Try the career game. I know he has a shutout against the Marlins down in Florida, but almost overpowering here in this game with his curveball, good changeup.
Well, speaking of strikeouts, how about 197 for Adam Dunn on the season?
Well, as the Mets move toward 2011, there's going to be opportunity in their starting rotation, and don't you think Pat Mish knows that? Trying to leave a lasting impression in his final start of the year. Mike Morse's fly to right, grounded to second, 0 for 2.
I thought he left a lasting impression from last year in September, but he had no shot in spring training.
Well, he pitched great in spring training.
But he really had no shot.
Well, we've talked about it many times. The Mets had scholarships for starting pitchers in spring training. And I think if they had it to do all over again, they would not have set up their spring training that way.
Well, we had that discussion in spring, Gare. We know Pelfrey had an ERA over 5, and he in the season past, and he had a spot in the roster. And I just felt that was he should have been fighting for a position.
And Maine and Perez.
And you're a big believer, Keith, in the competition in spring training. Throw the pitchers next year into that scrum and see who comes out.
Off the end of the bat to center field. And
Pagan
goes back, and it's gone.
Wow.
Mike Morse is a very strong man. He ties up the ball game with his 14th home run of the year.
That was one-handed.
Just flipped it over the center field wall.
Another one of the guys for the future for this ball club. Watch it. Let's go to one hand. It's a nice swing on that ball.
How about that pitch from Mish? I mean, it couldn't have been more down and away.
Wow. Very impressive home run for Mike Morse to tie up the ball game.
It's like Paul Bunyan with a bat.
Now Pudge Rodriguez swings and misses at the changeup. Pudge is struck out and grounded out 0 for 2. Each team now with a run on 3 hits. Ike Davis a home run for New York. Mike Morse a home run for Washington.
Well, this is going to be a better pitch than the pitch differential, ILTV pitch differential. More away.
Well, he just reached out and got that one. That had a little late sink to it.
Shallow center, and in comes Pagan. And Rodriguez retired, 2 out. Justin Maxwell bats with 2 out. Maxwell has one of the 3 hits for the Nats. He poked a double inside the first base bag in the 2nd and struck out in the 5th. Roberto Gonzalez would be next. Well, coming out of spring training, starting pitching was one of the greatest concerns the Mets had. As it turned out, when it all came out in the wash, had a pretty good year. 6th in ERA.
Well, I think you have to give Danny Wortham a lot of credit, too. Last year he took a lot of heat for the walks that the Mets pitchers had. Much better this season.
Struggled early in the year with walks, but got much better as the year went along. 2-2 to Maxwell. The Mets made changes in their rotation, partly out of injury and partly out of lack of performance.
Necessity.
R.A. Dickey stepped up and filled an enormous hole in the middle of May. And Maxwell down swinging on the changeup, and Pat Mish for the first time in his career has double digits in strikeouts. 10 Ks, but 1 home run allowed. Mike Morris ties the game with his 14th of the year. 7th inning stretch. It's 1-1.
That's like the
News tomorrow afternoon at 1:10 p.m. Visit Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX for your tickets. Pat Mish, 10 strikeouts through 6 innings.
Feel great.
I'm good. I'm good.
I'm good. It's 1-1, baby. I'm still in there.
Shoot, I want to win.
Now, if you score 4 or 5, no.
Mish has thrown 100 pitches last start of the season. No reason not to keep going. Doug Slayton comes on for Washington as the Nats continue to limit Jordan Zimmerman's pitch count.
The 5-year veteran has set career highs in almost every single category and has been outstanding in 19 appearances since July 24th with a .203 batting average and a 2-0 record.
Ike Davis has accounted for the only Mets run with a home run to right center. His 19th of the year. And it takes high for ball 1. Heartening news for the San Diego Padres. The Phillies have gone in front of the Braves 2-1. There's Ike's home run.
'19th home run of the season for Ike.
Phillies got RBI hits from Ibanez and Reyes in the top of the 4th off Brandon Beachy. 2-1 Phillies in the 4th.
Sort of how it went the last time Beachy faced the Philadelphia Phillies. He was good early, and then they figured him out.
Slayton behind 2-0, and Ike takes off the plate 3-0. Lucas Duda and Mike Hessman to follow for the Mets in the home 7th.
Outstanding effort by Jordan Zimmerman. He was on top of his game today.
82 pitches for Zimmerman. And they've been generally limiting him to the mid-80s, coming off Tommy John surgery. Davis throws the leadoff walk, first one the Mets have drawn tonight. So Zimmerman goes 6 innings, not walking a batter. Slayton throws 4 pitches against the left-hand hitter, and that's the first walk.
Nary a strike.
Well, Peralta gets up in the Nationals bullpen. Now Lucas Duda, who has taken a call 3rd strike and popped a short 0 for 2. And Lucas' first pitch swinging, pops one up behind 3rd. Desmond has the angle, but Gonzalez circles to grab it. I think Gonzalez had given up on that ball, thinking Desmond was going to take it, and then realized Desmond wasn't going to get close to it.
Well, you don't have to worry with Alberto. He is a fine glove man.
Well, you're right here. He gets turned around, and the wind brings it back. He circled the wagons.
Tried to get out of the way, and getting out of the way, he got right in front of the ball.
That's going to be all for Slayton, with the right-hand hitter Hessman coming up. Jim Mergelman heads to the mound. So Slayton faces 2 batters, a walk and a foul pop-up. He'll exit, and Joel Peralta will come on. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Lincoln Mercury. We'll be right back. This is in the big leagues. The first step is figuring out how to get on the field. Thole.
Let me out.
That whole push-pull thing can get a little confusing sometimes.
Let me in. Let me in.
Well, he hasn't had any problem. Once he gets on the mound, though, he's having an outstanding season for Rickleman's squad. Look at that. 9 walks and 45 strikeouts in 46 1/3 innings pitched.
And the righty's hitting just 152 against the veteran Peralta. Hessman has hit 2 hard-hit ground balls, 1 to short, 1 to third, 0 for 2. And the first pitch curveball hit out to left center field. Nigel Morgan patrolling, and it drops. Davis stops at second. I don't know what Maxwell was doing there, but Morgan kept tracking it with the wind, and it went off Maxwell's glove.
Well, Morgan was having trouble with it. But you're right. Once he's called off, clear out. Morgan makes the play. Oh, please. I'm wrong. Morgan had it.
Morgan had it, but Maxwell never even knew that Morgan was there.
Oh, that's a great shot.
Maxwell was actually calling, but it's a center fielder's ball all the way. So it'll be an error on the left fielder, Maxwell, for messing that up. His second error of the night. He misplayed a base hit by Pagan that led to an extra base in the first. So the Mets have the tie-breaking run at second with one out. Josh Thole, the batter. Thole's hit one ball hard and one ball soft. He had a pop fly that fell for a hit, and he had a bullet line drive that was caught in left field.
Keith says they always even out. I don't know.
Is that true?
Not for the good hitters. We hit far more leanness.
So you're saying the good hitters get cheated because more of their line drives get caught than the bad hitters' blue pits fall in?
They hit more leanness, more line drives than those 230 hitters, trust me.
John Burnett is up in the bullpen. One and one to Thole. Peralta gets ahead of him. Two on, one out, tie game, seventh inning. Now Peralta's 1-2, and Thole has to spin. 2-2.
Good purpose pitch right there.
Four-year-old Joel Peralta working in relief. And Thole down swinging. Oh, the purpose pitch set it up. And that's the second out of the inning.
Fastball up and in, changeup away. They've been doing that since the 1880s.
I waved at it there.
Well, in the 1880s, you were allowed to call for your pitch. I wasn't around. Keith?
I was just coming of age then.
2 out and 2 on. Here's Tejada, who's hit into a fielder's choice and lined out to second 0 for 2. 1-1 game in the seventh. Chris Carter's come out on deck to pinch hit if Tejada can keep the inning going.
Tejada get another big hit within a week here.
That's how the homestand started, with Tejada getting the walk-off hit against the Brewers. The only game the Mets have won on this homestand. Davis and Hessman aboard with 2 out. Curveball drops in for a strike. 1-1.
Keith, with 2 outs, Gonzalez at third base is playing even with the bag. Wouldn't you want him playing a little further back? He's not going to bunt here.
Well, we have seen him bunt, but you can play even in the bag, and then as the pitcher goes into a stretch and breaks from the belt, back off. And I know it takes a little more effort, but that's the thing to do.
And Peralta throwing breaking balls, that's a prime pitch to pull.
Bunt's a terrible play here.
Yeah.
Foul tip held by Rodriguez, 1-2.
Good fastball after the 2 sliders from Peralta.
Ruben just a little bit up on that bat handle.
Boy, Peralta, I can see one of the reasons he has a lot of success. He quick pitches you from the stretch.
He's got a pretty good curveball, too.
Good curveball, good enough gas, 90 plus. But every once in a while he'll quick pitch you.
And that's just a timing thing in terms of having yourself set.
I think that's what happened to Thole. He quick pitched him with that changeup, and Josh's timing was completely upset.
Tejada protecting at 1-2. Again, the 1-2 to Tejada. And he pops it up. Second baseman Espinosa puts it away cleanly to end the inning. A walk, an error, and 2 left after 7. We're tied at 1. Pat Mish back to the mound for the 8th inning. Alberto Gonzalez laces one that Mike Hessman snags for the first out. 1 pitch and 1 hard out.
Well, hot corner.
Had to make like Ed Jochum in there.
I'll tell you what, Hessman at third base, he hasn't got a lot of range, but whatever he gets to, he's sure-handed. Wow. Need a helmet. Where's your knight's armor?
Now Kevin Mensch will be a pinch hitter for Washington. And Mensch takes a strike. A well-traveled outfielder.
What do you do his biggest damage in Texas?
Texas, yeah. As does everybody, right?
That's right.
So Corey Cantu, it took him 2 months to drive in a run. Ripped foul. Meanwhile, Pat Mish has struck out 10 batters over 7 in the third, his career high. He's thrown 103 pitches tonight. His career high in pitches was 110 last year when he threw that shutout against Florida, the only shutout of his career. Now the question is, can Mish get through this inning, get a run, and have a chance to win? That's what's missing on his resume. No victories this year as Thole got shaken up by that one. Mask askew, but he looks like he's okay.
Shakes it back on.
Well, that gets his throwing hand
Right on the thumb.
Right on the thumb.
That's no fun.
It's interesting, when he goes to give the target, he has his right hand in front of him, which is very unusual. Most catchers keep that right hand behind them and bring it up much later.
Used to be, back in the old days, that catchers would keep that bare hand behind the glove, and then Johnny Bench became the first to catch one-handed.
They would catch two-handed. That's what they would do. And to this day, when you shake hands with a catcher from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, it's kind of shaking hand with a crooked handshake.
You shake hands, sometimes it's hard to get unshaken.
That's right.
Can't get disengaged with all those twisted fingers. There's a Coors Light freeze count.
And
that hurts just to watch. Tough guys, those catchers.
It's a very sadistic broadcast tonight. Go back to a close-up of that. It's very sadistic.
We've got more coming for you, Keith.
Wince. Hurt your fingers and your hands. It's tough to get out there and hit, too.
Changeup misses to Mensch in a full count. Mish has walked 1, struck out 10. Danny Espinosa on deck. Mish versus Mensch. And a pop fly, shallow right. Feliciano coming on. And reaches down to get it. Made that adventurous. 2 out. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin has a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. San Diego Padres are the biggest Philadelphia Philly fans in the country tonight. Danny Espinosa 0 for 2 and a walk. And he bounces one out to Reyes. Nice easy hop for him to handle. And a 1-2-3 inning for Pat Mish in the top of the 8th. Mish pitching a gem. Mets now need to get him a run on the bottom of the 8th. Tied at 1. Here at Citi Field. Mets Nats coverage begins with Subway pregame Sunday at 12:30, only on SNY. Your Mercedes probables for the rest of the series. No picture available for Yuneski Maya. The Mets beat in Washington. And Raul Valdez, who will go from pitching in both ends of the doubleheader on Wednesday to starting the game on Saturday. Has that ever happened before?
Valdez, he can pitch every day. Pitching now for the Nationals, Sean Burnett is having a fantastic season for these Nationals. A guy that was always kind of a control pitcher, but you can see with those strikeouts, averaging more than a strikeout per inning.
And for only the fourth time in his major league career, David Wright will appear as a pinch hitter. He's 1 for 3 in his career pinch hitting. And he fouls off the first pitch he sees. So they told him, pinch hitter, first fastball you see, got to swing. I mean, the guy played every day for 7 years. Right. He's not a pinch hit. Jose Reyes and Jesus Feliciano to follow. And David hits one to left field. Back goes the left fielder Maxwell, and he's got room to make the catch. And David trying to do something he's never done before. Hit a pinch hit home run. Tough night to do it with the wind blowing in. Let's check in with Gary Apple, see what's coming up tonight on Geico Sports Night.
Okay, Gary, coming up tonight, we're going to hear from Jon Heyman. He's the man who wrote the story questioning the futures of both the manager, Jerry Manuel, and the general manager, Omar Minaya. Plus, going to check in on the wild card race in the National League. It's going down to the wire. Hope to see you tonight.
All right, Gary, now here's Jose Reyes, who's 0 for 3, and he pops one up. Shallow center. Morgan started back, now coming in. And he's there to grab it for the second out. So Burnett has come on and retired Wright and Reyes. And so it's left to Jesus Feliciano.
You usually say that in the other order, don't you? Retired Reyes and Wright. Never say Wright and Reyes.
Well, I would not assume that Pat Mish is going to pitch the 9th inning. 109 pitches deep. So he's got one more crack here. And that is for Feliciano to get something started. One and one. You got a feel for Pat Mish. It's been so hard for him over the course of his career, even when he's been in line for victories, to find them. It happened in his last start when he came up 1 out shy, and here pitching a gem. But he'll get a no decision tonight as Espinosa throws out Feliciano. 8 strong innings for Mish. 1 run allowed, leaves tied. brought to you by New York Community Bank. By Absolute Vodka, the ideal choice for cocktails perfected. Enjoy with absolute responsibility. And by State Farm. Today's State Farm agent of the day is the great Pat Cawley of Glendale, New York. Here's your freescore.com Mets box score. Home run in the 4th inning by Ike Davis. Home run in the 7th inning by Mike Morse. Your freescore.com line score.
Well, Takahashi's in the game, but you have to feel for Pat Mish. What a game he pitched. 10 strikeouts, his career high. Only really, I mean, when you look at it, one mistake and a Nelson Doubleday. No decision.
Very nice.
I never heard that one, Ron.
Well, you got Larry for the loss. Yes. William for the win.
If it wasn't for that Nelson Doubleday, we'd be 3 outs and this ball game would be over.
He'd be hit extra 36 in about 10 minutes.
Nyjer Morgan leads off in the 9th inning. Morgan is 0 for 3. Tried to bunt his way on his last time up, and Ike Davis tagged him out.
Really have to watch out for the bunt here from Morgan. You know, he's bunted already into a force out from Davis.
Takahashi paints the outside, 1-1. Ian Desmond on deck, and then Adam Dunn here in the 9th. Each team with a run on 3 hits. Good change up, 1-2. It's a great shot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Around the bullpen. And he struck him out. Takahashi with the changeup fans Nyjer Morgan for the first out of the 9th.
Little slider.
Again, in the year where the Mets are not going to finish above 500, there's been some great stories, haven't they? From R.A. Dickey to Takahashi to Ike Davis, Jonathan Neese. Great effort by Pat tonight.
You know, he looks so unhappy, and you can understand why. But forget about the wins and losses. That was just a superb effort by Pat Mish tonight.
Beautiful thing to watch. Forlorn is the word.
I mean, here's a guy who's 3-15 in his major league career. But he's pitched some gems for this team. A couple last year, and certainly this game tonight.
And that's got to be the best game he's ever pitched in the major leagues. Just dominant.
10 strikeouts. He had never had more than 8 before. Desmond takes a strike, and it's 1-1. Ian Desmond has one of the 3 hits for the Nats, a single to center back in the first. Mish retired the leadoff batter in every inning. Takahashi doing the same here in the 9th.
Well, Desmond's looking for a changeup. He got 2 fastballs. Here comes the cat and mouse. Will he look for another one, and will he throw another fastball, Takahashi?
Changeup. Oh, fastball.
Yep. That was the setup. This changeup away. 3 fastballs in a row. Changeup down and away. Start that changeup in the same spot.
Thole moving outside. Fastball. 3-2.
Well, maybe that's why Takahashi's having a lot of success. It's hard to stay with him. Hard to guess with him.
Here comes the cambio. Let's see. No, fastball away. He wants the changeup. I knew it. 3-2. I knew it.
Desmond backs it off. Had it all the way.
Desmond just pulled the something in his eye.
There's a little peekage.
Yep. Let's see.
Changeup.
And he missed with it, ball 4. And so the Nats have the lead man on with 1 out. And Adam Dunn coming to the plate. Dunn is 0 for 3 tonight and struck out twice against Pat Mish. 38 homers, 103 driven in. And a chance here against Takahashi. Dunn is 1 for 5 against Takahashi this year. And put on the modified shift with the double play in order. Tejada can't go out into the outfield. Desmond a base stealing threat, but you don't figure he'll do that here with Dunn at the plate. Although, you know, you talk about the left-hand hitter and keeping the hole open. With this defense, there's no hole anyway.
That's right. Well, Desmond did try to steal it the first time on base against Pat.
And Dunn pops one up, shallow center. Reyes is there. 2 out. Reyes, who was disconsolate at dropping a pop-up last night, made sure of this one. Tonight the wind's blowing in the other direction, in rather than out. Mike Morris hit one against the wind, a very impressive shot in the 7th to tie it.
That's a strong man that can hit the ball out that part of the ballpark.
It was Morris's 14th of the year. 1 for 3 on the night. Desmond at first with 2 down. Tie game in the 9th. And it's fouled away.
Looks like Morris is joining your club, Keith. He's got a light brush working here for late in the season. Pudge Rodriguez on deck.
See what the Blue Jays players did the other night with Cito Gaston?
They wore it to the plate.
Yeah, they wore him all night. His fake mustache. Did you see that, Keith?
No, I did not. It's trendy.
He may not be as famous as your mustache, but Cito Gaston is kind of known for his hirsute upper lip. And all the Blue Jay players wore fake mustaches in his honor. His last home game as manager.
Your buddies were here. Remember the guys that have over the left field wall? They were here in the 2nd game, sporting their stashes.
They were devastated to hear you weren't here.
Well, I can't be at 2 places at once.
Although you tried. And Morris is down on strikes to end the inning. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Takahashi. 12 tonight for Met pitchers. Now we go to the bottom of the 9th with the Mets trying to win it. the side of the top of the ninth. Isanori Takahashi delivering a little good-natured ribbing on his way off the field. Angel Pagan leads off and takes ball one. This requires no translation.
He's pointing to Reyes. It's hilarious.
He remembers what happened last night. Pagan drives one out to right center, chasing Nigel Morgan back. Nice reaching grab, one away. And Sean Burnett has the first down in the last of the night. Mass Mutual Mets box score. Ike Davis homered in the fourth inning. That's the only run in this game. The Mets have managed only 3 hits. Now Ike steps in against the lefty, Sean Burnett. The home run for Ike was his 19th of the season. Tying Juan Swoboda for second on the Mets rookie list. Only Darryl Strawberry. Now he finds himself in a 2-strike hole. Back a little wider with him. A good chase. Braves have tied up the Phillies 2-2 as they go to the 6th inning in Atlanta. Drew Storen, Nats closer. 2-2 now to Ike.
Tried to bounce a couple. It's his 3rd curveball in a row. Will he challenge Ike Davis?
Ike had a walk-off home run back on June the 8th against the Padres. 2-2. Struck him out. Pulled off the breaking ball. So Burnett's phase 5 retired them all. That's his first strikeout. Pittsburgh paints overhead camera. So now 2 out. Here's Duda, who's 0 for 3, strikeout, 2 pop-ups. And Lucas takes the strike. Braves tied it up on Derek Lee's second run batted into the game. He's shown a little life now the last couple of weeks.
He's moving a little better defensively. Maybe he's healed a little bit. He got that back.
1-1 for Burnett. Duda. Spotty can't handle it. It's 1-2. And a slow ground ball. Burnett off the mound. And we are going to extra innings on the final Friday of the season. Each team with only a run and 3 hits, and we're headed to the 10th at Citi Field. Ivan Rodriguez, Justin Maxwell, and Alberto Gonzalez to bat for the Nats in the 10th. The Nationals are 2-9 in extra inning games this year. The Mets are 6-8. Pudge is 0 for 3 tonight. Struck out, grounded out, flied out. Matt Mish went the first 8 innings for the Mets. Allowed a run on 3 hits, a walk, 10 strikeouts. Tremendous outing for Mish that results in a no decision. Justin Maxwell on deck. And that changeup misses high, 2-0. Solo home run. Ike Davis in the 4th. Solo home run. Mike Morris in the 7th. That's been all the scoring tonight.
Good place to pitch Pudge. I think that later now in his career, he's a little more vulnerable to the fastball and has become a very good breaking ball hitter. So if Takahashi chooses to opt to go with the changeup 2-1, better be a good pitch.
Off speed, 2-2. Hey, I've got big news from Minnesota tonight. The Blue Jays and the Twins are in the 5th inning, and the Blue Jays have not hit a home run.
That's right. Is Bautista playing?
54 he's got now. 2 more last night.
Making a mockery of the game.
Rolling over one. Reyes in front of it, and throws out Pudge running hard. It's a 38-year-old catcher running hard in the 10th inning of a late September or early October game.
Love it. It's always been that way. Entire career he's been a hustler.
Very different position, different personality, but kind of what Miguel Tejada is giving the San Diego Padres right now. An older player who just goes out there and plays hard every day with great enthusiasm. Here's Justin Maxwell, 1 for 3, doubled back in the 2nd. He's had a rough night in the field with a couple of errors, but neither of them led to a run. Alberto Gonzalez on deck. I mean, getting back to the Blue Jays for a moment, what they've done is phenomenal. I mean, they have 253 home runs. That's the 4th highest total ever. And, you know, you want to say that there's still a possibility there are performance-enhancing drugs in the game. That's fine, but clearly we're in a slightly different era now. I mean, the record was set in 1997, right in the middle of the steroid age, by Seattle with 264. But for any team to be coming close to that now is amazing, with home runs and runs scored in general so far down this year.
Well, they've gotten some, and that's without Lind, who was a home run hitter for him, not having a top year. But Vernon Wells is back on top of his game. John Buck, the catcher, has had a big year.
Aaron Hill.
That's right.
Had a big year for them. Two to Maxwell. Swing and a miss. Got him with the changeup. 3rd strikeout for Takahashi, and there are 2 down in the 10th.
13 strikeouts. There's that grip. Inside corner. That's always a dangerous pitch.
Less dangerous for the right-hander than it is for the left-hander.
Now Gonzalez is 0 for 3, struck out twice, and then had a bullet to 3rd that Hessman caught. He fouls off the changeup. You can see how far in front the Blue Jays are in the home run category. Almost 100 more than the league average. And that's not a great home run hitter's ballpark, Rogers Center. It's good, but it's not like U.S. Cellular, which is considered the best home run park in the American League.
All equated to, hope I get this right, Chase Field in Arizona. When the roof's off, the ball will travel.
Well, I think of home runs at Rogers Center, I think of some of the ones that Carlos Delgado hit early in his career. They went up in the Hard Rock Cafe up there on the, was it the 5th or 7th level?
That and Canseco went off the restaurant in the playoff game.
Another change up, 2-2.
It doesn't matter right now whether it's on the corners for Takahashi. He has just the perfect motion, the perfect speed on that changeup.
The hitters are not able to pick up his change. He's just baffling them.
Gonzalez bangs one off Thole. Josh took a shot off his thumb earlier and survived that. Two and two to Alberto Gonzalez. And that's taken low. Wilson Ramos has come out on deck to be a pinch hitter. If Gonzalez can keep the inning going. Now Takahashi's 3-2. And he fouls it back, so Gonzalez hangs in there. And pitchers tonight have walked 2 and struck out 13, giving up 1 run and 3 hits. The pitchers had 19 strikeouts earlier this year.
Did it take them 20 innings to do it?
20 innings.
Okay. Right. Don't even go there, Gary.
He might.
I'll be here.
Well, Keith has tomorrow off. If the game goes past midnight, does he have to stay?
Oh, that's right.
Overtime.
Overtime. Good luck with that one.
Again, the 3-2, and Gonzalez is down swinging. What a performance by Takahashi. 4 strikeouts in 2 innings of relief. Now Mike Hessman leads off in the bottom of the 10th. By BJ's Wholesale Club. By Rums of Puerto Rico, the rum capital of the world. And by Absolute Vodka, the ideal choice for cocktails perfected. Enjoy with absolute responsibility. Changes for the Nats in the bottom of the 10th. Roger Bernardino will play left field at bat 9th. And on to pitch at bat 7th, the wins leader on the Washington Nationals, Tyler Clippard.
Well, he is their good luck charm this year. He got off to a 6 or 7-0 start. Has come back to earth, but 11 wins. But the saves opportunities have not been very good or kind to Mr. Clippard.
Sometimes that's how you get wins in relief.
Exactly. It's called the vulture.
Ooh. Mike Hessman is 0 for 3 tonight. Hit 2 hard ground balls and a fly ball to left that Justin Maxwell messed up for an error. Meanwhile, big doings in Atlanta. The Phillies in the top of the 6th inning got a bases loaded walk to Dominic Brown, and then Jimmy Rollins hit a grand slam. And the Phillies now lead the Braves 7-2 in the 6th inning.
So Rollins is back now too, playing well.
Surprised?
Uh-oh.
To Hessman with Josh Thole and Ruben Tejada to follow. So that's going to be heartening news for the San Diego Padres getting ready for their game in San Francisco tonight. Padres 2 behind the Braves for the wild card lead. Just gets out of the way. 1-2.
Well, the Padres, if they take 2 or 3 from San Francisco, they will have 90 wins and go nowhere.
Maybe, unless the Phillies can give them some help.
Yeah, you're right. They'll give plenty of help tonight.
I mean, the Phillies may not have anything to play for, but still a pretty good team.
Yeah.
And they don't want to go limping into the postseason. And, you know, while the Braves and the Phillies are the Mets rivals, they're also each other's rivals.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if San Diego wins the wild card, it means the Phillies would play them in the first round. That might be more appetizing to them than playing the Reds. Swing and a miss, and Hessman is down on strikes. 1 out of the bottom of the 10th. So Clippard fans the first man to face him.
Upstairs fastball, a lot of plate.
Now Josh Thole is 1 for 3, a pop fly single back in the second. He's also lined to left and struck out. Each team with only 1 run and 3 hits as we play in the bottom of the 10th. And Thole pops one foul. Jordan Zimmerman started for Washington. He went 6, allowed a run on 3 hits. Doug Slayton and Joel Peralta combined for a hitless 7th. Sean Burnett 6 up and 6 down in the 8th and 9th. The Mets' last hit was Ike Davis's home run in the 4th. One and 1 to Thole with Tejada on deck. Pedro Feliciano, 91 appearances deep into his season, and not done yet. You know, it's one of the stories for next year that we haven't talked about a whole lot, and that is the status of Pedro Feliciano, who's a free agent at the end of this year.
He is going to be highly coveted.
He certainly is, and you wonder whether the Mets are going to put out the dollars necessary to keep Feliciano around, or if they make the judgment that with all the appearances he's had the last 3 years that maybe they don't want to pay that much for a situational lefty.
Well, I think, I guess I'm speaking for Pedro. I shouldn't speak for him, but I'm going to anyway because that's my job. But I think that at this point in his career, he would really covet a 2 or 3 year deal.
Sure, and he'll get one.
Yes, I believe so.
Thole to deep right field. Back goes Morris near the wall, and it's out of here. Josh Thole with a walk-off home run at the bottom of the 10th inning. Josh Thole's 3rd career home run, and it's a winner for New York.
they have more fun roughhousing nowadays with the walk-off pair.
The fourth time this year, the Mets have won a game with a walk-off home run. Barajas, Blanco, Davis, and now Josh Thole.
Well, I was just telling Ron that Thole's had a hard time getting the barrel through tonight, and 3-1, he must have looked in there, and boy, he turned on it. Nicely done.
A 10-inning win for New York with home runs by the rookies Davis and Thole.
Oh, right down Broadway. He got it through. The barrel came through.
All right. What a nice lasting memory to go into the off season for Josh Thole. He's going to play a big role maybe in this team next season.
So Thole plays hero, and he's standing by with Kevin Burkhardt.
How good did that feel, Josh?
Yeah, it felt good. It was, things haven't been going my way, so it was good to get the monkey off my back.
When you talk about that, when you came in, you had mentioned a few weeks ago one of your goals, if you could, to finish a year at 300. Does that start to weigh you a little bit, though, when you start thinking about that?
It did for a little bit, but, it's getting to the end of the season. You just try to have good at-bats in battle.
What is the thing that you have learned as you've gotten a lot of playing time up here now and try to finish strong?
It's consistency. I mean, you watch guys like David come out here every day. How consistent he is. It just makes for a good long career, and that's what I'm trying to do. Just get it consistent as possible.
I noticed you were very careful. Rounding third, you had it very plotted out, very careful going into home plate. Nice job by you.
Yeah, we're not trying to finish this season on a bad note at all. So we're just touch home plate and get ready for tomorrow.
Let's talk about the defense part of it. Pat Mish was outstanding. What did you see from him?
Yeah, Pat was great tonight. Mixed all of his pitches, balls, threw balls when he had to, and when he's got command of all four pitches, it makes it fun, and it was fun for him tonight.
It seemed like not much phases him. I mean, he seems to be that, for whatever reason, that hard luck guy in terms of getting victories. And since he's come to New York, he's pitched well so many times, doesn't have much to show for it personally.
Yeah, he has, and that's been tough. And that's what we said tonight. It was, we're going to try to go out there and just battle like he always does, and get him a victory. And then he pitched very well.
Josh, congrats. Enjoy it, all right?
All right, thank you.
Gary, let's go back to you.
All right, a satisfying victory for the New York Mets. Pat Mish didn't get the win tonight, but certainly pitched well. Takahashi with 2 brilliant innings of relief. Met pitchers struck out 14 in 10 innings tonight, including a career-high 10 for Mish. Ike Davis hit his 19th home run, and Josh Thole's third was the winner for New York as they beat Tyler Clippard, who suffers his 7th loss. Coming up right after we're done here, it's Lincoln Mercury post-game live. Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda will have all the highlights, all the analysis, and all the interviews from the clubhouse. Lincoln Mercury post-game live right after the game right here on SNY. Mets win it in 10, 2-1, their 8th walk-off win of the year as Thole hits their 4th walk-off home run. Tomorrow on Picks, it's Game 2 of this series as the 2 Cubans, Raul Valdez and Yuneski Maya, will go head-to-head. First time in 7 years the 2 Cuban starters have matched up in a big league game. Mets win it in 10 innings, 2-1, as Josh Thole takes Tyler Clippard deep to end the night of baseball here at Citi Field in the final night game of the year. And Thole got it up over the Mo zone, and on the day when headlines were not happy for Jerry Manuel, he has a reason to smile. Now for Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling, Kevin Burkhardt, and our entire crew, I'm Gary Cohen. Let's send it to Lincoln Mercury post-game live with Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda.